Welcome back. In this last part, we will explore the uses and keywords of past perfect in English. Most of its uses are similar to the ones in Spanish, but still it's important to check them. We basically use the past perfect to talk about actions or situations in the past which happened before others. In the example, when we arrived at the airport, the plane had left. In the moment we arrived at the airport, the plane was not there. It left some time before we arrived. The oldest action, the plane leaving, is in the past perfect, and the newest action is in the past simple. We also use this tense when we want to talk about an action or situation happening before a specific moment in time. In the example, Mozart had composed a symphony by the time he was 12. The specific time mark is the moment Mozart was 12, and the action of composing a symphony was previous to that moment. Also, as with the present perfect, we use the past perfect when we are saying that we did something several times, using the expression it was the first time, it was the second time that. In these cases, the idea is not connecting past and present, but connecting a moment in the past with another which happened previously. Look at the example. It was the first time that he had been to Cuba. It clearly indicates this sentence that he went to Cuba for the first time in the past. Now he's back, and that he wasn't in Cuba before that last trip. In conclusion, we use the past perfect when we have two past events and we want to make clear which event happens first. The oldest event would use the past perfect, and the newest or closer to the present would use the past simple. Most of the keywords used with a past perfect tense are the same as those for the present perfect, so we must be careful to check the time relationship we mentioned before. Same as the present perfect, we use with past perfect time expressions indicating repetition. It once, it was the first time, it was the second time. And also most of the keywords used for present perfect, like for, since, already, ever, just, never, yet, or how long. When the sentence, however, there are two time clauses which are specific and typical for past perfects, those using before, antes, or after, después. When the sentence contains after, this time connector would be followed by a past perfect form, while the main clause would be in the past simple. Look at the example. After he had arrived, they offered us a coffee. The comma is there because we have moved the time clause to the beginning of a sentence, which is not its natural position. If the main clause starts the sentence, they offered us a coffee after we had arrived, there will be no comma. In those subordinate clauses with before, we find the opposite situation. A verb in the past simple would follow the time connector before, and a verb in the past perfect would be in the main clause. In the example, we had seen our rooms before we had dinner. We can see how it works. As in the previous example, we could have placed the time clause at the beginning of the sentence, but in that case, we must write a comma at the end of the time clause. Before we had dinner, we had seen our rooms. After reviewing the uses and keywords of past perfect, we are done with this tense too. It is time to revise all the information and try to see if we have understood everything. We are doing this again by practicing a little with an exercise which tries to help you put all these ideas in order. In this practice, you must complete the sentences with the correct form of the verb, using either present perfect or past perfect. This is an exercise which will help you distinguish both tenses. A hint for doing it is checking if the verb which appears in the sentence, not the one you must write, is in the present, and that could mean that you'll need a present perfect, and if it's in the past, you need a past perfect. Stop the video and write the sentences with your answers in your notebook. Here you have the sentences with the gaps you must fill. Remember, you must use either present perfect or past perfect. Stop the video and do the exercise. In a few seconds, I will start commenting on the answers. Are you done? Let's go with the answers. Number 1. When we arrived at the restaurant, Laura had already ordered a glass of water. We use past perfect because the main clause is in the past. Look at the position of already, always between the auxiliary and the main verb with perfect tenses. Number 2. He noticed that Peter hadn't painted his old chair. We use the past perfect again because the action of noticing, darse cuenta, is in the past, so the painting of the chair must have happened before noticing it wasn't painted. Number 3. They haven't arrived yet. I just asked her mom. The sentence is clearly said from the present, and the use of just indicates it's a recent action. Consequently, we must use the present perfect. Number 4. My brother isn't home right now. He has just left. Again, in this case, we must use present perfect, as it is a recent action connected to the present. Number 5. I like broccoli, but I haven't tried it for a long time. Once more, we must use present perfect here because we are connecting a present fact, me liking broccoli, with my life, not trying it for a long time. Finally, number 6. There were no sausages left when I came back after the dog had eaten them. In this final example, we found out there were no sausages in the past, so the action of eating them by the dog must have happened before we came back. That's why we must use past perfects. How did it go? Did you have any question? Remember, these videos are just for you to prepare for the class time practice, where you can ask and solve all your questions with your teacher and your peers in the cooperative team. If you have done them right, congrats! With some more practice, you won't have any problem with this important structure of perfect tenses. And this is it. We are done with perfect tenses. In this series of videos, we have revised and practiced the structure and uses of the perfect tenses in English. Both tenses are really important at this stage of your learning process, and you must master them. Now is your turn to go back to the book and revise your notes and write down the questions you may have so you can solve them during the class time. Also, it's time for doing your practice. You will have some time to ask your peers in your cooperative team before practicing with them. Remember, the class is the place to talk and practice. However, your teacher will be there also to help you to solve any questions about this topic you may have. Feel free to ask your teachers anytime. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video lessons. Have a nice day!